Confirmation hearings for Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh begin Tuesday. If approved by the Senate, Kavanaugh will be President Trump's second appointment to the high court, and he will solidify its conservative outlook. But justices' political views haven't always played such an important role. A new book titled The Most Dangerous Branch Inside the Supreme Court's Assault on the Constitution argues the court has become too interventionist and politicized. Author David A. Kaplan spoke with most of the current justices as well as past justices and 65 law clerks who worked at the court. Good morning.
Good morning.
So when did it start getting so politicized that we will see on full display on Tuesday?
You could argue at different eras of the court in the 20th century it veered in that direction, but I argue in the book that largely over the last 50 or 60 years, after Brown against the Board of Education, and then during the 1960s in the heyday of the Warren Court.
And the politicization is basically presidents going out on the stump and saying, elect me so I can pick conservative justices, or where did it start? What was the...
I think in the first instance, the responsibility lies with the court. The court in too many different areas has intervened because it can, not because it should. So whether it was abortion in 1973 or Bush v. Gore in 2000 or in gun control or campaign finance or voting rights in the last 10 years, by overruling what the political branches had done, they make the stakes higher.
Let's separate the process and go to what may change here. How will Brett Kavanaugh's appointment change the direction of the Supreme Court?
Well, replacing Justice Kennedy, the court will certainly move toward the right in a lot of areas. But I would argue that rather than him becoming the swing justice, as many have said, it'll be Chief Justice Roberts. It's truly going to become the Roberts Court. And he's the one to watch, I think, in coming years. And his regard for the institution, and on occasion, his desire to pull the court out of the maelstrom, I think, is the best hope for the court. I'm not especially hopeful, but I think he's the best hope.
Yeah, if Kavanaugh became the swing vote, that would be a failure for President Trump, which is to your point. In other words, they're picking people now who they know are going to vote in a certain, more specific way, whereas in the past, it was up for grabs for a lot of the presidents when they picked nominees.
Correct. It's hard to find another Clarence Thomas. And I would guess that Kavanaugh will not vote as reliably as Neil Gorsuch.
David, in your book, you say, forget the robes. Maybe the job should come with tights and a cape. Doesn't sound like a compliment, though.
Well, I think it's a great gig. Justice Kennedy, being the deciding vote in so many areas, gay rights, some of the voting rights cases, gun control, he ran the country. And if you're running the country, if you're asked to decide these key social and political areas, it's very hard to say no. But Justice Brandeis said a century ago, the hardest thing we do is not doing. The court very infrequently chooses to stay out. And when it does stay out, like on partisan gerrymandering this past spring, those are the areas where they ought to get involved to regulate the process.
I totally agree with you. What are the next big issues that this court will decide?
They will continue. There will be abortion cases. There will be same-sex marriage cases. But I think the key area, and this is what's most important for movement conservatives, is going to be to deregulate what they call the federal administrative state. The agencies of the federal government operating under very broad statutes passed by Congress have vast discretion, and the court for 30 years has deferred to that. I think that's going to stop. Gorsuch already has said in writing that he disagrees. Kavanaugh is on record as disagreeing. It's called Chevron deference. And I think taking apart the power of the SEC, the EPA, OSHA, I think that's the great grail for conservatives, and I think they may be successful. That's more significant in the long run than even abortion.
Yeah. David Kaplan, fascinating book. Thank you so much.
Thanks.